Hello, my name's Peter Berger. I live in Emerald in central Queensland. Here's a map of the location of it. You go along the coast to Rockhampton and then about 265 kilometres inland. Here is the all-important road map which has been supplied for us. I've rearranged it a bit. I'm going to be skipping backwards and forwards because this gets like a can of spaghetti. Let's see. That's the hard part done. Intended area of teaching. Well, I'm hoping after this to eventually become a course presenter for Swim Australia. I would be helping to train coaches. So that's that in a nutshell. Qualifications. On to the next slide. Here is an image of my original coaching certificate when after I did the course in 1999. You can see here that one expires 2005. We have to do regular updates. I could probably find a current one, but I'm more sentimental about this one. None of this was formalised in 1999 when I did the coaches course. So I tried to look for a contemporary equivalent, and I found this SISS SWM 001. So starting from the bottom and working up, SI is one of the ones under this training package SIS10, Sport, Fitness and Recreation Training. And it's one of about a dozen training packages administered by Skills IQ, that is the Skills Services Organisation. Coming back down, so SIS10, the SS denotes that it is a skill set. There are no units of competency there. The whole thing is self-contained. All the details are within this document. Moving on, the SWM is self-explanatory. That's swimming. The 0, I'm guessing, is AQF level 0. That is, it doesn't have an AQF level. And the 01 denotes level 1 coach. There's a 01 and there's a 02 and a 03, which are for the level 2 and level 3 coaches. Back to the road map. I will tick that one off. Next one is industry background. There's going to be a couple of strands to this. Back to the talking head part. Look, swim coaching for me has been a sideline since about year 2000. But there are a couple of things about what I was doing to earn a living besides that are instructive. So I always need a run up. So I'll start at the start. Look, at school, in high school, I gravitated towards science subjects. And I just continued that on. I attempted to continue that on into tertiary study, but that failed. And so we attempted to find out why. It turns out I have an aptitude for abstract logic that's off the chart. I have some mechanical aptitude. What let me down was that I have a very poor memory and I'm slow. So I was able to get through high school because it's at a slower pace. You see, when you're using abstract logic to build imaginary working models of systems, that takes time. So that would normally take me about 6 weeks to 3 months uh, to put a model together. Until then, all this information is just soup. So at the speed it comes at you in tertiary education, that was just all too quick for me. Now, so we found out about the mental aptitudes. It took until I was about 45 years old before the doctor finally convinced me that lifelong I've been subject to anxiety and depression. Now, that's really what happened. That's what finished me off. I completed about 2 years work in 3 years, and just could not drive myself to do any more. Try tackling tertiary education with patchy aptitudes and depression. I don't recommend it. So getting back again, after muddling around for a while, I landed a job with the Queensland Department of Primary Industries, as it was then, just at the time when they were expanding the sizes of their projects up to farm scale in remote locations that people couldn't get to every day or every week. And they were starting to make use of digital electronic technology for their data logging and sampling. And at that time, none of the staff there had any training in any of that. So when they found out that I could read a wiring diagram and use a soldering iron, I had a job. And it got better a bit later because we had all this digital data coming in and no way to process it. And it so happened that I had just learned enough about computer programming that I could write programmings to make this cryptic logger data intelligible to the humans. And so that's been my bread and butter and my in the lifetime where I've made a living, and that came to an end. What was it? About 4 years ago, and so I've been basically retired since then. I will divert into, you see, back then there were no training courses for what we were doing then. With this digital equipment, we all had to just delve into the equipment manuals and work it out for ourselves. And so that suited me down to the ground, because my learning style is, I'm a ferret. I call myself a ferret. I dig into the equipment manuals or the reference books, whatever is needed, and just extract the information I need. I never read novels. I don't read fiction, and I rarely read a book from cover to cover. I dig into it and pull out the information I want, and away I go. Getting to where that kind of work could be helpful for what I'm planning to do, those were the sort of days where if you mastered your subject, it was assumed that you could deliver a lecture about it. The converse of that being, if you could not deliver a lecture, it was questionable whether you had mastered your subject. It was as simple as that. It may just be you were no good at lecturing, but that was about what it boiled down to. And what I was doing from time to time was, you see, we have to go out and do presentations to the producers, the farmers. And I used to specialise in explaining to them how their surface management techniques would affect rainfall infiltration into the soil. Now, you wouldn't think it'd be that complicated, but it is. And they're like everyone else. I need to be told 3 times before it sinks in, and they certainly needed to have it explained 3 times before it sunk in. And so I used to specialise in running. We had this rainfall simulation equipment, a rainfall simulator, and it was a great little tool for demonstrating in a very practical manner how rainfall infiltrates into soil. So I do have a bit of a background in delivering presentations. Now, okay, basically retired. I wanted to do something with my swim coaching qualification, and to cut the story short, the aquatic centre employed me to be an instructor for their technique development squad, and so I'll leave that just sitting there, because that's the introduction to the next stage of the presentation. But I'd just have to say that the other thing that I've found very useful, I'd say that anyone who has trained a squad of athletes has got to have a head start in delivering presentations, I can tell you. So back to the main road. Checking where we are again. That is the background. Now we're getting to it. Realistically, I never really expected to be attempting to become a trainer. There I was, contented enough, providing technique development lessons to young swimmers. But fate took a hand, as it often does. Along comes the 7-year-old son of a footballer. The boy's loaded with sprint talent. He's only just up from learn to swim. And of course his father wants him to run before he can walk. So he just expects to see fast lengths done. Get his speed up, get his distance up. Went and complained about me. Said, he's not doing it right. I got told, just give him lengths to do. Well, I don't think that that's appropriate in a technique development squad, especially when you've got half a dozen 7- and 8-year-old girls in the lane who need their strokes improved. I'm not going to be giving them fast lengths to do. So this disagreement eventually lost me my job. They just closed that squad down and I was out. Now, that was insulting enough. At this stage I'm disappointed, but I could have just left it at that. But that's not the only thing. You see, there's another more serious consequence. To maintain accreditation, coaches have to periodically substantiate that they've been training swimmers. Without swimmers, I'm going to lose my accreditation. That's the part that really hurt. So I've been pushed rather hard. I can either fall underneath this or climb up over the top. Now, I reviewed my existence, such as it is, and realised that this is a repeating pattern. Some things just died a natural death, and other things that I'd been doing have been terminated because of bad decisions made by ignorant humans. So I realised that if I let this one happen, that was going to be a 100% record of those sorts of things occurring. So the only alternative is to climb up over the top of it. So I inquired of Swim Australia what it would take for me to become a course presenter. There was no way through the middle of this. It was either get crushed underneath it or climb right up over the top. And they provided me with a half-page long list of requirements, and the first of those is to obtain or to hold Certificate 4 in Training and Assessment. So here I am. It's not the sort of subject that that I'm adaptable to, and this is not the way I learn, but I'm going to have to make an attempt at this. What have I got to lose? So I didn't really want to be a trainer, but it's what I'm going to have to do if I'm going to salvage anything from this little debacle. Occasionally, the voices in the back of my head say, "This is silly, why are we doing this?" Or I remind them, we've got this juggernaut rolling towards us. Climb over the top or get crushed underneath. We are nearly there. Well, something interesting that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't like to think there's anything interesting about me. I live under a rock and prefer it that way, but I suppose that might have to change a bit. Let me see, I plan to do something a bit different here. Just keep watching. I've made an attempt at rating my learning styles here. I know the most difficult thing for anyone to do is be objective about themselves, but anyway, here we go. Out of kinesthetic and visual, I reckon it's about a tie. Show me something working and let me operate it is what I prefer to do. Visual comes a close second. I find this zoo illustration from the learner guide quite useful. I reckon they should do more like those. Out of those, auditory runs a long third. And out of these supplementary styles, I'd rate myself as being more logical than verbal. I relate to things like diagrams, charts, mathematical relationships. And here I'd rate myself as more of a solitary learner. I don't rate myself much as a team player. I always go over time, so I'd better wrap this up now. See you in class.